Hi, this is E.T., and this is Rod Serling. He, along with writers Gore Vidal and Patty Chayefsky and others of the post-War II era, instituted TV's golden age. Never, in my opinion, has television so effectively created drama and comedy as it did between 1945 and 1960. And it was all on fuzzy, small black and white screens. Now, since then, we've seen technological advances in recording, in color, in high definition, in CGI and sound. But they've correlated dramatically, in my opinion, and inversely with the programming's ability to impact viewers. Consider Serling's Twilight Zone. It ran mostly for half an hour. It was in black and white on CBS between 1959 and 1964. But Twilight Zone remains today extremely popular, 60 years later. People like it of all ages and all nationalities around the world. The reasons for its ongoing success are, I think, the poor quality of production, all caused by the limited budget that forced Serling to sacrifice expensive sets in order to hire the best writers and actors, and then to use his camera and sound via shadowing and angling in such a way to create a surreal effect. Consider one episode. It was called "And When the Sky Was Opened." It aired the first season and was played by two known actors, Rod Taylor and Charles Aidman, and an unknown named Jim Hutton, who got very famous as a result of this episode. "And When the Sky Was Opened" played on a universal theme, and that was man's loss of identity in an impersonal and atomized urban society. People could then and today very much identify with that. The script was based on Richard Matheson's short story called Disappearing Act. The set, or sets, were extremely Spartan. A landing pad, a hospital room, a tavern, a motel. They seem to be based on a design by Mies van der Rohe. He was a very famous minimalistic designer and builder. His motto was, "Less is more." The episode opens in an empty Air Force hangar. A canvas, you can see, remains atop a high-altitude test plane, which we're told has disappeared for hours and then crashed in the desert. Next scene is of a military hospital. We see Colonel Forbes, played by Rod Taylor, very upset, talking to a nurse. He wants to go see Major Gart in his hospital room. The next scene is inside the room. Forbes explains to the bedridden Major Gart, who suffered a broken leg, that everybody seems to have forgotten about the third pilot, Ed Harrington. Major Gart explains that only he and Forbes flew the mission. He does not know any Ed Harrington. Forbes, thinking he's going insane, relates events earlier in the day as he remembers them, and now begins a flashback. We see Colonel Forbes and Colonel Harrington, played by Charles Aidman, laughing and joshing with Major Gart about his not being able to go out with them to drink and chase girls. Now, a careful observer will notice that Colonel Forbes' military cap is different from Colonel Harrington's. It lacks that scrambled egg on the bill that is assigned to all field-grade officers. Now, this was a mistake, but does it matter? No, because by this time the viewer is emotionally invested in this very identifiable crisis of anomie and facelessness. The next flashback scene is at a tavern. You see both men sipping beer at the bar. But Harrington has a funny feeling, a sense of not belonging here. He goes to an inside phone booth to call his parents. Moments later, he calls out to Forbes, who's sitting at the bar, to come over. Harrington is extremely upset because neither his mother nor father ever heard of him. Forbes goes to the bar to get a drink for Harrington. He returns, but Harrington is gone. Forbes, extremely distraught, sees a newspaper. The headline and picture feature only him and Major Gart. There's no mention of Ed Harrington. Next scene, motel room. We're still in a flashback. It's a place where Forbes, planned to meet his girlfriend, Amy. He explains to her how crazy it is. Nobody remembers Ed Harrington, but neither does Amy. Forbes calls his commanding general, but the general's not heard of Harrington either. Forbes jumps from a window and runs away. He breaks into the closed tavern to find Harrington, but of course, Harrington is gone. That is the end of the flashback. Now, Forbes is talking to Gart and telling him that he, too, has that funny feeling. Forbes heads to the mirror. He cannot see his reflection. He knows he's going away. Now, again, the astute viewer will notice that the camera, angled incorrectly, shows the viewer part of Forbes' reflection. Again, it doesn't matter. We're all too far invested in the drama. Forbes then runs screaming from the room. He's immediately followed by Major Gart, who's jumped out of bed. Apparently the broken leg had healed itself. Again, we don't care. Gart looks down the corridor through which Forbes should be running and screaming, but no one's there. The nurse leads Gart back to his bed, where he picks up the newspaper, showing a headline and a picture dealing with but one pilot of the plane, himself. And now Gart knows he's going to go on a trip himself. The last short scenes are of a doctor and nurse examining the hospital room, which has long been empty. Then a final scene back at the hangar, showing only a tarp with nothing underneath. Now again, you may wonder, why would they have a tarp for an airplane that never existed? But, as was true of Colonel Forbes' cap and reflection and Major Gart's instantly healed broken leg, we don't care, because this story is so well presented and so identifiable that that's all we're concerned with. But now, what if Twilight Zone had magnificent color, all very distracting to the eye, and magnificently organized sets, all full of detail, further distracting, CGI effects, well, you know what they're like, and high-fidelity sound, itself distracting? It's very unlikely that this story would have worked as effectively, that it would have had that megaton high effect on our emotions. Less is more is what allowed TV's golden age, writers, directors, and actors to produce drama and comedy that has lasted and will continue to do so millennia from today. At least that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit the like or dislike button. Oh, do subscribe to this channel.